had this conversation with a colleague. We talked about this, how flawed business organizations and some companies are, a lot of companies are, is that the tolerations of inappropriate behavior that doesn't align with the values is what kills culture. And a lot of times leaders are blind to that because they're so quick to reward behavior that looks like that because of high performance or high sales numbers, or that person closes contracts, or whatever the case may be. Remember, they're not mutually exclusive. Performance grounded in values, that's what creates culture and performance that you want on purpose. If you're a CEO, entrepreneur, or business owner that can't seem to figure out what is blocking you from attaining the next level of growth in your business, then listen up. I'm Maria De Lorenzo Reyes. I've taken what I've learned in 30 years working inside multi-million-dollar corporations, building my own business, and consulting my clients, and discovered 5 themes that stop a business from scaling. I've created a tool to help you get the answers you need to get unstuck and unlock the next level of growth. Head over to scale.mariadr.com and click the link to get your custom Scale Factor Formula scorecard when this episode is over. Hey everybody, welcome back to Finding the Upside. I'm your host, Maria De Lorenzo Reyes, and you know that in previous episodes we've talked about culture a lot. We've also talked about burnout. And we've also talked about unmasking and all the tiny things that we do every day that can really weigh on us. I want to talk about something that I realized. Culture isn't made with big decisions. It's made in the tiny ones we make every single day as leaders. And today I want to get real about a hard truth. Are you ready? The culture you tolerate is the culture you create. I've really been thinking about this and reflected on all the things that I've watched others do, and watched sometimes even people I work with and companies that I'm trying to help, led by leaders that don't see this and see that they're tolerating behavior and actions that actually create the antithesis of the culture they're trying to create. All right, let's talk about it. What does tolerance actually look like? Let me share a story with you. A while back, I noticed something really unsettling that was happening during a team call. Someone continued to be spoken over, and nobody paused. That tiny, silent moment, it wasn't allowed, it was tolerated and telling. It happened again later and again. Those moments, those little moments, speak far louder than any org chart. And as the saying goes, what you allow or ignore becomes the culture you create. See, the thing is, culture is not about the grand mission on your website. It's about what happens when no one's looking. It's about everyday behavior and action that is intentional and aligned with what you are looking to create. Why the little things matter most. Here's the thing. You might say, well, we have a values document. Okay, but trust me, if behaviors that contradict those values go unchecked, you've already lost. I remember a client telling me, we value transparency. Then I watched as a leader brushed a deadline miss under the rug, and the team never said anything. That single act told everyone more about expectations than any town hall. So, how do we shape culture on purpose? Here's how you get intentional. First, audit your tolerance. Ask yourself and be honest. What behaviors go unaddressed? Is someone routinely interrupted? Are people staying silent? Second, draw your lines. clearly. Say what's non-negotiable. When I talk about a team's shared identity, it's centered in this exact thing. Norms like respect, agility, or even humor, name them. What's expected? Third, hold everyone accountable. Yes, even the untouchables. Come on, we know who we're talking about here. If your culture ignores one person's behavior, that highest achieving salesperson, then it condones everyone's. We see that in culture today. We see that in our community today. We see that in our politics today. Everyone needs to be held accountable to those values. And next, make sure that you embed values into rituals. So use one-on-ones, performance reviews, project kickoffs, even the daily stand-up to reinforce what real behaviors you want to embed, you want to reinforce. And lastly, make feedback habitual. Keep the conversation alive, not just one and done. And by the way, feedback is both constructive, ways to improve, as well as honoring and reinforcing great behavior that led to the outcomes you're looking for. Not just one and done. Think keeper test. Would you fight to keep this person on your team? If not, that's telling. Alternative frameworks can spark conversations too. Incorporating feedback into your rhythm, that's culture on purpose. It's not an afterthought. It's every intentional action that's going to create intentionally what you are bearing, what you are looking for. I had this conversation with a colleague. We talked about this, how flawed business organizations and some companies are, a lot of companies are, is that the tolerations of inappropriate behavior that doesn't align with the values is what kills culture. And a lot of times leaders are blind to that because they're so quick to reward behavior that looks like that because of high performance or high sales numbers, or that person closes contracts, or whatever the case may be. Remember, they're not mutually exclusive. Performance grounded in values, that's what creates culture and performance that you want on purpose. So culture isn't a backdrop. This is my final thought. Culture isn't a backdrop. It's a lens through which every choice gets made. When we stay vigilant to micro behaviors, when we catch ourselves in the moment, things go unchecked. That's when culture takes shape. If this episode inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, forward it to someone who's ready to stop tolerating and start building an intentional culture. And remember, culture evolves from what we allow. Until next time, keep shaping your culture intentionally, because that's where you'll find the performance you're seeking. All right, so I hope you loved this episode and found it valuable. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you'd be so kind, if you know someone else that this will help, please share this episode with them. Just grab a link for this specific episode, text it to a friend or colleague so it can help more people like you. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next time for more entrepreneurial goodness. Same time, same place on the Finding the Upside podcast.